Well, hello everyone. We have big news to talk about out of Texas, and well, a few other places we'll go over as well, but we're mainly going to be focusing on Texas. The big primary race was here, and guys, we can call it James Talarico is our projected winner. He is currently at 53.1% of the vote, with about 80% of the vote in. It was pretty close, as you can see, but it's probably not going to drop below 50%, which means Talarico won. This is big news because Texas is in play now. Crockett was not a candidate to unite the Democratic Party. She came off very progressive, very aggressive, but her policy never matched up with her positions. Talarico, on the other hand, I wish he was a bit more aggressive. He's not, but his policy is more progressive. I wish he was more aggressive, as I said, but he's not. We have to make do with what we have. And out of the two options, he is by far better. He's also someone who's probably going to be pretty electable. The stars are kind of aligning in Texas because we also got a good scenario out of the Republican primary. Nobody won. It's going to a runoff. That means the Democrats, well, James Talarico, can basically start campaigning while the Republicans are fighting each other. And quite frankly, it's starting to get pretty nasty. John Cornyn had some pretty aggressive things to say about Ken Paxton. So it's going to get pretty nasty between those two. Also in the Democratic primary, there was just more people that voted in it. Like, a lot more. As you can see, there's even more ballots that's been counted for the Republican election than the Democratic election. Yet, the Talarico alone has over 1 million votes. Crockett's probably going to end very close to 1 million. So you're going to have nearly 2 million, you're going to have over 2 million votes in the Democratic election. Probably end up under 2 million in the Republican one. That's interesting. Republicans don't seem engaged. They just don't. This is a bit of a win for the left. Jasmine Crockett tried to kind of divide the party. She came in and said had Colin Allred drop out of the race and say some pretty nasty things about Talarico. She essentially called him a racist to try and discredit his campaign. Harris came out, endorsed her. The entire establishment was behind her. But Talarico ended up pulling it off. So it is a bit of a win for the left. Let's look over a few other elections. So the North Carolina Senate primary, not competitive at all on either side. But on the Democratic side, Roy Cooper won with over 90%. So that's kind of to be as expected. What's important is look how many votes he got. It wasn't a competitive Democratic primary, yet he nearly got. He got 760,000 votes. That's a lot. That's a lot. So more people voted in the Democratic primary, even though they already knew who was going to win. The Republican primary had way less voters, yet it was a bit more competitive. Whatley was pretty much guaranteed to win, but it wasn't a shoo-in. He had I would say an 80% chance. So, it wasn't going to be competitive. Honestly, I think he had a bad performance. I was expecting more like 75%. So he underperformed, in my opinion. So this is also a bad sign for the Republicans in North Carolina, which is good. That picking up a seat. That being said, not everything was a good result. In North Carolina's House District 4, unfortunately, the Bernie endorsed candidate Alam looks like they're going to come up short. 99% of the vote in, they're going to have to do a recount because it's very close. As you can see, there's only a difference of 1,200 votes. So really, anything could happen, but I doubt it. Unfortunately, that is a loss for the left. So Democratic Tea Party that we need, this awakening that we've been waiting for, it's not going to just manifest on its own. You got to put the work and the effort in. And this just goes to show this was a very winnable race. And we just didn't do enough. That same thing might happen in District 18. Right now, it's very close. Al Green is who we want to win. He is the man who stood up against Trump at both of his inaugurations. He has been a real fighter, a real progressive. 67% of the votes in. It looks like Al Green will lose, but he could end up pulling it off. But even so, it looks like this is going to go to a runoff. So this is an election we really have to pay attention to. We didn't do it in North Carolina. We didn't put the effort in. So this needs to get out. People need to pay attention. Al Green has been a fighter. He is someone who's been willing to stand up against Trump. So we need to get behind him. We need to make sure he wins. Another one in the House I want to take a look at. This has been crazy. So this is the Republican primary. We got District 23. Tony Gonzalez is in a very competitive primary. As you can see, he's up by 4 votes as the time of me recording this video. 4 votes. It's going to a runoff. There's just no chance it doesn't. It's already been called, as you see. It's projected that way. Tony Gonzalez is a very far-right MAGA Republican. But he's not just a MAGA Republican. There's many of those in the House. This is the guy who had an affair with a staffer who accused him of sexual harassment. She was a married woman. And she ended up setting herself on fire. Of course, she died from that. And Trump decided, that's my guy. And he endorsed this candidate. So we're seeing what's more important. Are people's morals and values more important, or Trump's endorsement? And as we're seeing, the Republican Party can't make up their mind. They don't know what's more important to them. Morals, values, or the cult leader. I mean, it's literally a dead even race, as you see. But we'll have to wait. We probably won't know until May. But if Tony Gonzalez wins, he's probably losing the general. Like, so many people aren't going to vote for a guy who harassed a woman to death. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. Nevertheless, overall, it was a pretty good night. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this was a great night for the Democrats or the progressives or the left. Only time will tell. We won some, we lost some, and then the other, like the Al Green race, we'll just have to wait and see. But the biggest and most important race, we came out on top. Talarico will be the candidate going into November. And for the first time in a long time, the Democrats have an opportunity to flip Texas. The stars are aligning. The Republicans are completely dysfunctional. They're in this competitive primary that's getting super heated, super agitated. It's not even over. Like I said, they have to do a runoff, so they're probably going to hold another election in like May, maybe June. That doesn't give them much time to unify the party. Talarico's going to have like a 12, 13 week advantage to unify the party behind him. And I think it's going to be a lot easier for Talarico to convince Jasmine Crockett voters to get behind her than it's going to be for Cornyn or Paxton to convince their voters. Why do I think this? It's simply because the Democrats have a common enemy. It's Donald Trump. The Republicans don't have a common enemy. You could say it's James Talarico. James Talarico's just a guy. He's a state legislator. He's never had a nationwide office. He's never been governor or senator. He's never even been a member of the House. He's a state legislator. He's a guy that most people have never even heard of until now. So he's not this uniting figure for the Republicans to hate on, like Joe Biden or Barack Obama or even like Kamala Harris were. It's just not, he's not that guy. And they're not even going to have time to make him a boogeyman because they're going to be spending all their money making each other look bad. So it's going to get pretty nasty. I was actually genuinely surprised by this. I thought Ken Paxton was going to win pretty convincingly. I thought he was going to be win by like 55, 60%. Like he was going to be winning by like 10 points, maybe like 20, depending on how well Wesley Hunt did. The Democratic race, I wasn't too surprised. I expected this to be close, and it's going to end up being pretty close. Talarico is going to avoid a runoff, and Texas might be embracing the blue wave this time. We might see a blue tsunami. If Texas goes blue and we pick up a Senate seat in Texas, that would be huge. Honestly, I think if the Democrats won in Texas, it would be a political earthquake for Republicans. This is their version of California. It's the most electoral votes. It's well, besides California, so the most electoral votes to Republicans. Been a pretty much a ruby red state. It got kind of close in 2020, but it was still like 6 points towards the Republicans. It would be a wake up call. It would be a wake up call that this administration has failed the American people and that they might need to moderate. They might need to backtrack on the tariffs or on the war in Iran that they recklessly started and that's killing innocent people. They might have to roll back on ICE and the deportations. This is huge. So now Talarico really has to prove why we chose him as the candidate. I have faith, but it's still going to be an uphill battle. This is Texas we're talking about. But I'll be covering it the whole time with you as it gets closer, as this race gets more competitive. And who even knows who Talarico's going to go against? Look at how close this is. And we still got nearly 20% of the vote to go in the Republican primary, nearly 400,000 votes to count. Ken Paxton or John Cornyn could easily end up coming out with the most votes. Again, none of them are winning because it's going to a runoff. But, and who are Wesley Hunt's voters going to vote for? Ken Paxton or John Cornyn? I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but either way, James Talarico is going to be going in as a pretty strong candidate to that race. And a pickup in Texas. I mean, if they win in Texas, they probably flip the Senate. Like, let's be real. Because if they're winning in Texas, they're probably winning easily in Michigan. In Ohio, they're probably winning. They're probably winning in Alaska. I would say Texas is harder to flip than Ohio and Alaska. But this is making it that much easier to do. Anyways, until next time, I'll have more videos coming out, but we'll be going over these primaries because they're very important. The right Democrats need to win. And tonight, we had some mixed results, but overall, the party is waking up. And in the past, Democrats would never pick the right candidate. They'd always pick the candidate that was endorsed by the establishment. Now, the establishment's worried. Kamala Harris, the former vice president, former Democratic presidential candidate of 2024, endorsed Jasmine Crockett. Man, does Kamala Harris look like a real loser right now. Just saying, the Democratic Party's sick of losing. They're sick of Harris, Biden, the Clintons. They're ready for the working class future that we've been trying to fight for years. We've been trying to wake the rest of the party up to this, but they haven't listened. Now they finally are. And I think Talarico can really spread that message along. He's always out there. He's a young guy. He doesn't have much of a political background. So yeah, he might be the guy. He needs to get on that campaign trail tomorrow. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next one. We gotta cover Illinois soon. Those are going to be some interesting primaries. If you live there, make sure you go out, research the candidates, and vote for the most progressive one.